What's going on, guys? This is Wandergasm. Today I'm in London and we're going to be talking about cheap flight hacks. Let's do it. Now, one of my favourite things to do is obviously book a flight for as cheap as possible because it's probably the biggest expense when it comes to travelling that is out there. So I've obviously picked up a lot of little hacks and trips along the way from all my travels on how to find the cheapest flights possible. So what I'm going to do now is share with you my 5 hacks and tips to getting the cheapest flights possible. Let's get into it. Straight up with number 1, and this is something that I learned in Australia from a friend who was a travel agent, and that is to book all of your flights as one booking if possible. Now, the reasoning behind this is, obviously you hear about these flights going online for like £10 to fly to Europe or 20 quid to fly to Sweden. Cheap little flights like that, and the reason they're so cheap is because the airline charges a minimum fee. But the part of it that isn't cheap is the taxes and fees and the petrol surcharge and all of that stuff. That's something that is controlled by, I think, government, or I don't really know. Anyway, it's the real reason that your tickets cost so much. So every time you book an individual flight, say I booked a flight to Spain next week and then I booked all that and paid it off, and then I paid for another flight from Spain to France and then paid that all off, like that would be 2 separate sets of taxes and fees, and that would cost double as much. So if I booked a flight from London to Spain and Spain to France all in one go, then I'd only be paying a single set of fees. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Anyway, that's what I was told by a travel agent when I was in store, who was a good friend of mine, and I've pretty much lived by that rule ever since. So save yourself money on taxes and fees and book all your flights as one continuous go. Number 2, and this one I find very, very important, and I think is mostly common sense, but some people might not know it, and that is to use incognito mode and clear all of your cookies before searching for flights. The reasoning for this is airlines will save your search history, and when you go back onto their site again to look for the same flight later on, they'll push the prices up. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that that's how much the flight should cost, but that's how much you're going to pay. So it always saves you tons of time and money if you clear out your history and search in incognito mode on Google Chrome, which basically means that it doesn't keep a history of anything you're doing, so the airline doesn't know you've been onto the site before and therefore doesn't hike the prices up. It's a great little trick to save money, so make sure you do that whenever you're searching for flights. Number 3, and this is one that I've seen sneak in, creepily sneak in over the last few months when I've been looking for flights, and that is airline search engines will just basically try and BS you. Like, you'll be looking at a flight and they'll say something like, "There's only 2 seats left, book now." I just spat all over my laptop. Good job, Charles. "There's only 2 seats left, book now. Oh, the flight's gonna be gone forever, quick." Basically, these are tactics that the airline search websites will use to try and get you to rush into booking and paying a higher price than you'd probably pay if you just spent a bit more time and looked elsewhere. Don't do it. Don't be a fool. Like, I guarantee there's probably like half the plane left to sell, and they're telling you there's 1 seat left, 2 seats left, book now because otherwise it'll be gone forever. Like, it's not true. I guarantee every single flight on that website will say there's only 2 seats left, and there's no way that that's true. Another thing I've noticed as well is that you'll get to the search engine, you'll book halfway through, you'll get halfway through selecting your flight for a certain really cheap price that seems too good to be true, cheaper than all the other airlines, and then you'll get to the payment section, you'll press pay, and it will say, "Oh, your payment didn't work, sorry, this flight's now gone, but there's another flight at the same time for 60 bucks more." And again, this is just another cheap tactic that airlines use to try and make you pay more. So not the airlines, the airline search engines use to try and make you pay more for your flight than you necessarily have to. So they'll undercut all the other search airlines. I don't know what words I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying. They'll undercut everyone else's prices so they're at the top of the search. Then when you click and get through to paying, they'll add another 60 bucks on top. So in fact, they're not actually the cheapest, but you're already so far along and you don't want to lose your flight that you end up paying the extra price. I just click out, I say I didn't want to swear. I'll tell them to get lost. I'll click no, and then I'll just go into another search engine and still find the same flight for cheaper than what I was going to pay. So again, don't fall for the BS tactics and don't panic buy. Whatever you do, do not panic buy.
Fellas, do me a favor. Next time you want to bullshit me, bullshit each other instead. Okay? See how that feels.
Number 4, and that is to be flexible with your leaving dates and arrival dates, and to be flexible with the airports you fly in and out of. The reasoning for this is major airports will usually be a lot busier, and therefore the prices for those airports are a lot higher. And also, if you're more flexible with your dates in and out of the countries, then you're obviously more likely to find cheaper flights. I mean, if you don't have to be somewhere on a certain day, and if you don't have to fly into an exact airport, it is a great way to save money. Maybe, like, for example, there's 3 different airports in New York City: LaGuardia, JFK, JFK and the other one Newark. Everyone will probably just fly into JFK, but you can look around LaGuardia, you can look around Newark, you can get trains from these places to where you need to be anyway, so it just makes sense. Again, just look around, don't panic, buy and use your brain, and you will find yourself saving tons of money on flights. And number 5 of my 5 travel hacks and tips for cheap flights. I do know what I'm doing. And that is, consider every single option available to you. Sometimes you just got to be smart / sneaky in order to save those dollars on the flights. For example, doing something like this. So say there's a flight. You need to get to Chicago from New York. Buying a direct flight from Chicago to New York is obviously going to be more expensive than buying a flight from New York to somewhere like Kansas. But if there's a stopover from New York to Kansas in Chicago, why don't you just buy the cheaper flight from New York to Kansas, get off on your layover at Chicago, and just ditch the flight there. Now, technically, you're not supposed to do that, but if you don't tell anyone, I won't tell anyone. Just make sure you don't check any luggage, and you're probably going to get away scot-free. It's a pretty cheeky little hack. Let's get it out. Don't dab on haters. So yeah, guys, just be creative with your flights. Look at layovers, look at different options, look at cheap airlines, like just be creative, don't be a snob, and you'll find those cheap flights. I hope that this video has helped you. Go and book some cheap flights right now using these tips. I don't have a sponsor, so I'm not going to tell you where to go look for cheap flights, but I like to use STA. They're great. They've always got me to where I need to be. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this video helpful. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more travel vlogs, more travel hacks, more tips, more photography stuff, basically all the things you want to see. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.